Hey everybody, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Zach, and this is Perkenbark.
We're so happy you're here to leave the old week behind and start the week fresh with some music, coffee, and conversation. And some Lillian.
That's right. And today, oops, we have some things in the picture. Today, we are going to be talking about Gianni Schicchi.
Gianni Schicchi. Ba-da-ba-ba.
And we're doing this because, thanks to you Patreon subscribers, I was able to go and sing the role of Gianni in Mexico in May and June, which was really, really fun. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, later this week I'm going to be putting up pictures from that trip, as well
They're
as
cool.
potentially a couple of clips for Patreon subscribers only into that world, that are because we can't share them here on YouTube.
Yeah. Fun
Cool.
stuff.
Anyway.
Should we get started with some coffee?
Oh yeah, because then we got coffee.
Yeah.
It's early afternoon. It's time for that. Time for the slump. We need some coffee.
That's right,
All right,
after
here we
your
go.
siesta. So I got this coffee when I was in Pittsburgh a while back. I was there for a graduation party and also for an audition. So I got this from the Strip District. If you're in Pittsburgh, it's from De Fer, meaning of iron. So there's the bag. It's called Flower Show. It's a blend of two Ethiopian coffees, which is why I think that's why they call it Flower Show, because it's very bright. It's very crisp, reminding you of spring. Their tasting notes here are peach ring, raspberry, and honeysuckle, and that's definitely true. It's such a good coffee.
Yeah, peach ring especially. I think there's also a nice roasty thing when we've done it before. And today that's not an exception because we did it in the
French press.
Yeah, which tends to. You've been watching us for any length of time. You know that keeps some of the oils and some of the heavier flavor things in the coffee as you drink it. So you get the sweet, you get the acid, but you also get some smoky.
Oh, it is so good. It is worth the drive for me to. I would go back for this coffee for sure. I mean, among other things, but this coffee is absolutely delicious, and it was such a cool shop. So if you're in Pittsburgh, De Fer, so good.
De Fer. Very fun.
Yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about your experiences first? Do you want to do the singing?
Let's
what
talk
are your
a little
thoughts?
bit about my experiences, then we'll talk about the opera, and we'll sing a little bit from it.
Yeah.
Should be fun. So, like we said, Patreon money helped me go to an opera festival, where I was there in Morelia, Michoacan, Mexico for 3 weeks. It was wild. It was very cool. There were lessons and coachings. I had a performance in this tiny little town outside of Morelia called Capula, as well, and it was just wild to think that this is a country that's right next door to the United States, and everything is totally different. The food was totally different. Obviously, the language was different, which was really fun. Unlike Canada, like the Mexican peso is such a different value as well. So, trying to do conversions in your head was always just strange. Whole 3 weeks.
You did get 15 cent tacos.
I did get 15-cent tacos. Yeah.
Amazing.
They were silver dollar sized, and they were amazing. They were really, really wonderful. The two best meals I had were the most expensive meal I had and the least expensive meal that I had.
That's awesome.
One was $30 per person. The other one was $30 for all 6 people that were there. It was amazing. But aside from that, I mean, there were people there participating in the festival doing Gianni Schicchi and Suor Angelica from literally all over the world. There were a couple of singers from Japan. There was a singer who was also singing Gianni in another cast from South Korea. People from Europe, people from Latin America, people from Mexico. There was a couple of people that lived in Morelia, and then people from the United States as well. So it was great. I realized that while I was there, I spoke at least 3 words in 8 different languages.
Wild.
because of all the different people that were there and all the different things that we got to do, just as part of rehearsing and living together, essentially. So it was very fun. I posted a couple of updates on Patreon while I was there. The biggest thing for for coffee in the perk part was at the hotel that we stayed at. The breakfast each morning featured café de olla, which is a little bit of coffee. Sometimes there was a very little bit of coffee, and then spices. And it was always different each day. It started to grow on me later in the time there, because they started to use more cinnamon, and the cinnamon in this city was so fresh. It was incredible. I've never had cinnamon that had the spice, but also was so fresh that it was still sweet before, and that was really, really cool. And then obviously the singing part of it, doing the actual festival was really, really fun. Mostly it was younger singers trying out roles for the first time. So in the case of Suor Angelicas were in their mid-20s and late 20s, doing a bigger role for the first time for the most part. The Giannis were the only people that were a little bit older, because it is a little bit more of a mature voice type role.
For sure.
But all the small roles in both of those things were largely people that were still in college, still in grad school, maybe fresh out of, and trying out some new things. So it was great. It was a very vibrant atmosphere, and if you weren't in rehearsal, there was somebody exploring something. So that was always really fun too. So you always had somebody to go explore with, whether it was in the city. A few people took trips outside as well, to different towns around the area, and it was just it was a lot of fun. And I mentioned the concerts that we did outside of the operas, and then the operas themselves were free for the public to just show up. So, and then we did 4 nights. There was a line, by the second night, there was a line around the block each night, and they were turning people away by the 4th night.
That's so cool!
And apparently they also either taped it or did it live on one of the local television stations as well. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So it was kind of a big deal for this middle-sized city that doesn't really get much notice outside of its region. And the organizer of the festival was very, very happy. I think he was very moved by the things that we were able to do in the city and some of the fun and culture that we helped bring out. So it was great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I missed him dearly, obviously. I had some car issues, but that's besides the point. He was welcomed back with open arms, that's for sure. So we're happy to have you back.
It's fun to be back.
So Gianni Schicchi, we've talked about Gianni Schicchi on the show before, so I don't think we need to go over like a complete plot line. But I'll be singing O mio bambino caro, which is Lauretta's aria. It's basically her entire role. She sings and then leaves and chases some birds, and it's awesome. So I'll be singing that. Like I said, I sang it on the show before.
It's also in the running with like Carmen Albanera, Largo, the La 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 Figaro, and maybe one other piece as the most famous thing in opera.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've heard it in many a commercial. People sing it at weddings, which they shouldn't because
it makes no sense.
It makes no sense. Lauretta is going to. She's threatening Gianni Schicchi, her father, to throw herself in the Arno if he doesn't give her permission to marry Renuccio, who is
Buoso Donati's nephew. Buoso is the man who died. He left no money to his family. So Lauretta is trying to get Gianni to help this family so that she can have an inheritance and a dowry when she gets married.
Yeah. So she's not innocent in all of this. She's incredibly manipulative.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking out for their personal financial future. Everybody in this opera.
Yeah.
It's great.
So that's what I'll be singing. And then we're going to fast forward a little bit into what you'll be singing.
Yeah. So it's Gianni doesn't really reveal his plan until about halfway through the opera. It's not even clear if he has a complete plan until about halfway through the opera. When Buoso Donati's doctor shows up at the house and doesn't realize that Buoso has died. Nobody knows that he's died except for the family that was in the room with him when he did. So the doctor doesn't know. He comes in and he tries to get near the bed where Buoso is, and Gianni pretends to have his voice. Buoso, he pretends to have Buoso's voice. And it works. He tricks the doctor, and the doctor leaves. He says, "Can you come back later? I'm already, almost asleep." And the doctor says, "Yeah, no problem. So you're feeling better?" And Gianni says to him in Buoso's voice, "It's like I've revived from the dead." So, yeah, pretty great. But it works, and he gets him out of the room. So right after that, Gianni jumps up, and he's like, I sounded like it, right? Right, guys? to the family members in the room. And then it clicks exactly what he's going to do. And that's what the aria is him explaining everybody's part in this. He tells Rinuccio, because he wants Rinuccio out of the room so that he isn't as guilty as everybody else.
Plausible deniability.
Right, exactly, because he does want his daughter to get married to the guy. So he tells Rinuccio to go and get the notary. Tell him that Buoso wants to revise his will. Then he has the rest of the family set up the room so that it's very dark and it looks, like somebody is convalescing, or they cover the lamps and they make it dark. They hang gauze around the bed so that he can be in the bed with Buoso, with a dead man's clothes on, with his hat and his scarf. And famously, it's already mentioned earlier in the opera, but famously, Gianni and Buoso both have big noses. So the idea is that the only thing that you can see is Buoso's clothes
and the nose.
So he makes a big deal about just having the nose, and then he's going to fake Buoso's voice, give a new will, and give everybody what they deserve. Not what they want, but what they deserve. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the aria, he does say, "And it's going to fly in the face of..." He kind of wants to say all of you, but he says eternity. He says eternity. Like it's going to change history, essentially. This is the action that he is ultimately, by Dante, well, Dante sees him, but this is the ultimately the action that sends Gianni to hell.
A light.
But...
Opera.
In the opera, though...
It is a light.
In the opera, though, it's a lot of fun. So it's like... He's having fun all the way there. It's pretty great. So, yeah. So that's what we're going to be singing.
Let's do some singing.
Sure.
Here we go.
ritorno, portate su con voi le pergamene, presto messere se non è tardi. Ed il notaio viene, entra, la stanza è semi-oscura, dentro il letto intravene di Buoso la figura. In testa la cappellina, al viso la pezzolina, fra cappellina e pezzolina, un naso che per quella di Buoso è invece il mio, perché il posto di Buoso ci sono io lo Schicchi con altra voce e forma io falsifico in me testano erano al testamento norma oh gente questa matta bizzarria che mi zampilla nella fantasia e non aspirar l'eternità.
There you have it. That show was no fun at all. You didn't have any fun doing this in Mexico.
No,
Yeah,
not even
no.
a little bit. It's a really wicked hard show, believe it or not. Because all of the wonderful jokes, any sort of timing joke is written, like slapstick stuff, is written into the music where it has to happen. So you have to be all together all the time. And honestly, Gianni might be one of the easier roles in it. The family members that he's dealing with, they're singing together sometimes. They have these little interjecting lines, these things that kind of run over each other, and they have to speak really fast sometimes. They have to make things sound really pretty other times. And Gianni is just sort of there with a chair and a whip, like, telling them where to go, basically. He's got the easy job by comparison.
Mm-hmm.
And then Laudetta comes in after feeding the birds.
I really do.
Sings a high D and then goes home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pretty great.
It's great. But yeah.
Well, I think that's pretty much it. That's our show today. We want to thank our Patreon members for allowing us to do things like the program that Zach went to. I recently recorded that. I'll put some stuff up there. And yeah, be able to take auditions and coachings and lessons and all kinds of the stuff that's really helping to make our dreams come true. So we really appreciate you all. Yeah, that's all I got.
So, like Gianni says at the end of Schicchi, se stasera vi siete divertiti, concedetemi voi a little bit of your money. If this evening was fun for you, please, consider donating a little bit.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, friends. Thanks so much, and hope you have a good week. We'll see you soon.